What is going on, family? How is everybody doing? Little games being played again, trying to get the show started, and it's hit a bunch of hiccups. So we're gonna try to make sure we get through what we got to get through today, fam. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody's okay. Hope you have your libations, your chamomile, your if you at work, your coffee with whatever you drink with your coffee, your tea with honey, your water, or whatever else you got. I ain't co-signing nothing. Whatever else you got. Listen, fam. We got to get down to housekeeping before we do anything else. Please do not forget, especially those of you who are going to be at the conference. Where do we go from here? Chaos of Community, Martin Luther King Jr. That book is kind of foundational for the conference and what we're doing. So please, if you're going to be there, please try to read it or go through it or as best you can before the 4th. October the 4th. Please, please, please do that. I would appreciate it if you would. It's going to be necessary for what we have to learn and how we have to move and all of these wonderful things. So please do that for me. Also, let's do a bit of housekeeping right now. Please hit that like button if you are right there now. If you are in the chat and you have not hit the like button, please just hit that like button for me. Cost you nothing. You can also hit that bell if you have not hit that bell so that you can hit that bell so that you can get notifications. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you can, you that just shows we grow like that. That's how we move. You please subscribe. Again, it costs you nothing. You can unsubscribe at any time. I would hope you wouldn't, but you can. You can absolutely do that. So let's just try to get all of that together. You can also go to subscribetobrown.com and just give me your email address. Subscribe tobrown.com email address. I'd appreciate that as well. Also, if you want to donate, as always, you can go to donatebrown.com. You can go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can do all of that good stuff. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now let's get to the bee's knees. Let's get to what we came here to talk about today. Now listen, I know a lot of you have been talking and having conversations about Trump. The Democrats are going to impeach, and go ahead. I support it. Go right ahead. Do what you got to do. He done did a lot of impeachable stuff. Did y'all see what a plane the Air Force landed at his golf course, and that's where they kind of got gas at to go to? You're not. That's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. But here's the thing. So I'm pro. Go ahead with the impeachments. Do your thing. But here's the problem. Here is the problem. Something's going to happen this way. This is what's happening, and this is what we all see happening. So Nancy Pelosi is going to do an impeachment inquiry, which really technically isn't impeachment. It's like the first step. So we don't even know whether she's going to ride that all the way out to the election or what she's going to do. But here is what I see as the problem coming to us right now, is that she's going to do that. The Democrats are going to do that. And from now until election day, we're going to hear about impeachment. Well, why is that a problem, Yvette? If you're on board and you're okay with impeachment, why is it a problem that we hear about it? Because the Democrats are going to use that not to do anything else. Remember, it's always, well, we can't let Trump get back in there. And we can't. This only heightens the theater. This only heightens the drama. And so what's going to happen, my fear, and I'm going to show you what we're really dealing with, because I wanted to talk about this a while ago, didn't quite get to it, alluded to it, shared a few clips, but I want to get into what we're dealing with and how we cannot allow. Look, Democrats, y'all can do two things at one time. Y'all can run an impeachment and y'all can give us an ADOS agenda and come up with a reparations plan and outline and put some money in it, because that's what really matters. So put a good faith recommendation in your plan for how much money comes out first. Is it going to be $500 billion, $1 trillion as the first allotment? Not the whole payment, but the first allotment that goes into the reparations fund. You can do that and do impeachment. But I have a feeling in my gut that that's not what we're going to be seeing. I have a feeling that what we're going to be seeing is, oh my God, how are you trying to talk about this stuff? And we got all this stuff going on, and you trying to talk about this. Why are you trying to talk about this stuff? Well, because I'm talking about this stuff, this ADOS agenda, this black agenda, for a very specific reason. I'm talking about it because all of the accrued disadvantage and the inheritance of poverty, pain, trauma, economic exclusion that is with us. That has not going anywhere. It will not go anywhere with student debt cancellation. It goes nowhere. It stays here with us. Somebody takes it out until somebody makes us whole. That's why student debt cancellation doesn't work. But even in how they targeted us, it's been very different. So there was a study that came out, Roosevelt Institute, that nobody talked about like 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, like right after September 11th, like the 16th, I think. And I was going to talk about it because nobody really talks about the study that came out, how for-profit colleges have targeted and taken advantage of black students. Now, see, this is why this is the problem with not having like black media that can go out and investigate. You have black media, they're not even really discussing it. I don't even know, do we really have it? We're not even having a conversation about the thing that we need to be having a conversation about. And we got to talk about who did it. Right? We got to talk about what did I say when I told y'all, when I told y'all, I spoke about the conversation I had with Killer Mike, and I say, in terms of black celebrities, the first thing is do no harm. Right? That's the first rule. So what happens here? Somebody said ICDC college. Absolutely. That's absolutely right. That's one of them. What happened here? And let me just set the stage for you. You have a situation where a group was targeted, our group, in a way to extract money out of us that we didn't even have. But we have poverty. And these people found a way to make money off of poverty. So listen, these little Negroes, they don't have no money. So what can I do? Well, they're really poor. So what does poverty get you? Well, poverty gets you access to student loans, sometimes Pell Grants, but it gives you access to a certain amount of money. So let's go through who these for-profit colleges went after and how they went after us. Louis-based Predatory College were told to go after people with recent incarceration issues and welfare moms with kids. According to the presentation, the ideal target was someone who also lived in the moment and for the moment, and who made decisions using emotion rather than logic. The recruiters were also made to participate in gamified recruitment blitzes, make 50 calls per day, and harass people who had shown interest in enrolling. Welfare moms, the recently incarcerated. Now understand, these are worthless degrees they're giving out, but they're going to go after us. Let me just keep going before I editorialize. Black celebrities were also included in advertisements. Besides Steve Harvey, they're talking about when they say besides Steve Harvey and Latifah Shilling for Strayer, the Reverend Al Sharpton sang the praises of the University of Phoenix in 2013 in a 2013 special called Advancing the Dream, live at the Apollo, which was referred to as a live star-studded 2-hour event by MSNBC and was co-sponsored by the aforementioned school. So you have people like Harvey who got in bed because there was a check. You know, you got to go get the bag. Isn't that what they tell us? You got to go get the bag. Go get the bag. They don't tell you what comes with the bag, whether you have to be responsible to your group when you get the bag. What is the moral code for getting the bag? What is the code for you and your... They don't, no, just go get the bag. And the bag, you verify something. You validate something that should not be validated because you're getting the bag. While you're getting the bag, you're taking the bag away from other students who are at a worthless college that is not going to do anything to or with them. regarding Mr. Harvey. In a 2015 TV spot, comedian Steve Harvey told a room full of people that if they didn't like their lives, they should change them. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, he said. Make the decision to move your life forward. Go to a place that can help you get it done and see what life's got for you. Now understand something. 97% of the people who went to these for-profit colleges were on some type of student loan. They were on federal programs. 97% they were federally funded. This was government money. This was good money coming from the federal government straight to these schools, a pipeline. You got to understand how dastardly this is. You're able to make yourself rich while making poor people poorer. While making us poorer. So you increase our racial wealth gap, because how many of you all remember this commercial? I can't remember what school it was, but this little black man comes out, hey, what you doing? You ain't doing nothing with your life? You sitting on I don't understand why you can't call. Why you don't pick up the phone and call? You know, you don't do nothing anyway. You be on the sofa anyway. You always on the phone anyway. Why don't you pick up the phone? Do something good for your life. Just pick up the phone. What somebody said was Everest. Who was it? Just pick up the phone. Do something good. Make something good for your life. I remember seeing all those commercials. You couldn't leave anywhere without seeing a university of, what was it? Was the Phoenix commercial? Oh my God, you couldn't even move. You couldn't watch daytime TV. Without these people trying to pump you up with the idea that you can get a degree and change your whole life by doing education. They were telling you, we got online education. You don't got to leave your house. You don't got to leave your bedroom. You can stay right there and do everything you got to do and we'll get a life for you. But it was wealth extraction. There was no exchange. There was no exchange. How do you create wealth for other people when you're broke? Isn't that something? It is something. So what these people ended up doing, these people who signed up for these schools, they ended up maxing out student loans. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Let me just bring this up real quick. It wasn't only Steve Harvey, but the commercial was part of an ad campaign from Strayer University, a for-profit school that marketed itself to people of color. Hate that term. Another ad featuring an inspirational Queen Latifah speech and shots of ecstatic black people. They also had Queen Latifah do, let me just bring this up while I look for something. They also had Queen Latifah do she did a course. It wasn't a course on any kind of thing or entrepreneurship, anything. It was a course. It was a course on confidence, because you know confidence changes everything. You can end the racial wealth gap, like, apparently, with confidence. So they had all these people validate them. And here's the thing: some people will say, well, they didn't know. They didn't know, Yvette. What's the problem? They didn't know, I don't understand what you're talking about. They didn't understand. Well, listen, here's my thing. If you don't know, that's one thing. But the thing is, you don't get not to know. Given the situation that we're in right now, you don't get not to know who you're there for. You don't get not to do the research. You don't get not to look into the stuff that you need to look into. You don't get to do none of that stuff. You don't get to do it. Not her, not Steve Harvey. Let me bring up old Steve again. Remember, Steve told us you ain't supposed to sleep. Why you sleeping? You ain't supposed to sleep. What you sleeping for? Why you going to bed? You can sleep when you're dead. This man wants you not to be healthy. What is that? You don't need to sleep. What you sleeping for? So let me just show you what has been happening, because we don't really talk a lot about that. You have to get a sense of not only where we are, you have to get a sense of where this country is and where we are within the country. Hold on 1 second for me. Okay. Now I want you to look at this chart. This is Western Europe on the bottom. This is just to give context. You want to look at America and inequality, and you want to look at Western Europe and inequality. Now I want you to look at that blue line. That blue line, and look at the dates all the way to 2015. That blue line is bottom 50% in Western Europe. That red line is top 1% in Western Europe. Right? Now, I want you to look at that. Now, keep that in your mind. I'm not going to put them up at the same time just yet. I'm going to put this up. Now, this is America. I want you to pay close attention. Look at this. Look at how those lines are different. You see this red line? Look how the top 1% just eating everything. And the bottom 50% is just dropping to the bottom. Right? That blue line. That is inequality like we've never seen in the world. Like, you don't understand. It's worse than another Gilded Age. And we are the bottom of that bottom. This chart that we're talking about is the share of income. So you're looking at who has the largest share of income. You're looking at who is getting the bounty. And what you're looking at in America is who is eating out. What you're looking at, look at this red line. Look at where it goes from 1980 to 2015. Eating all the food. You're getting the bounty. When we talk about the share of income, that's you. Now, this span that goes all the way from 1980 to 2015, this is a over that 35 years. That's a single millennial life during that 35-year period right there. Let me just bring this. Let me bring them both together so you can see them both contrasted to each other. Hold up, make it a little bit smaller. That's what you call wealth extraction. You should really hear a sucking sound. And we are the bottom of that bottom. And the top 1%, when we talk about the top 1%, one thing that we like to do is say, well, that top 1% includes some of us, as if that makes it better, but it doesn't. The top 1% is nearly all white. Nearly all white. So who do you think own those schools that sucked all that money out of our community, that sucked out, like, so what they did, they maxed us out in student loans. So now you have a worthless degree. They kept you going, and then they convinced you, well, let's go get a master's degree now. You got your bachelor's, you did it. Let's go get a master's now. And they max you out at the furthest you can go is like in terms of the federal is like $130,000 in terms of student aid. And they max you out and they get all that money, and then your degree is worthless, but you maxed out. So you can't even go nowhere and start over. Not even talking about how disheartening that is in the first place. That's why I always talk about how we have to be a protected group. So nearly this top 1% is all white. But we talk about it, but all the time. Let me just bring this up one more time. Look at that. I want you to look at that chart. The U.S. part, top 1%, nearly all white. But what does the bottom look like? Well, the bottom 50 is overwhelmingly black. They still sucking though. How else can we make money off this group? How else can we suck and drain everything out of this group? If you ain't got no money, I'm gonna make money off of your poverty. If you have access to money in school, even though maybe that's not the place for you, and we know this school ain't gonna be nothing, ain't about nothing, we don't have the accreditation for you to ever do nothing, we still gonna find a way to suck you dry. And you know, student loan debt can't be bankrupted. So you can't say, well, I'm gonna get out of this debt. I'm gonna go to bankruptcy court. It's not like a car, you know, whatever. It's not like you can't, no. You can't expunge. You can't get rid of none of that. It's stuck. It's with you for life. I saw a blind man somewhere. He was blind and disabled, and a whole bunch of other stuff was going on. I think he was dying. He had cancer. It was an awful situation. They were like, nope, you keeping that student debt. Approximately probably 70 to 80% of our families are in the bottom 50. So when you see that chart that's going straight up with the top one, that's nearly all white families running away with all the money. And so what we're looking at here is just one of the hows, just one of the ways that it happens. Just one of the ways that the racial wealth gap, or the lineage wealth gap as we call it, just keeps getting wider and wider and wider, because there are all kind of mechanisms in place to keep it that way. We're not a protected group. Doesn't happen that way for us. But let's just go to a little bit more. Let me just explain a little bit more about what happened. Now this is Steve Harvey and Queen Latifah both co-signed for Strayer. According to Brookings Institution, graduates from Strayer hold more total debt than those of the notoriously expensive New York University, NYU, and they struggle to pay back their loans on a median salary of about $46,000. $46,000, and they gave you can pay for NYU, you could have paid for an Ivy League school with that, and they did that to you. They gave you a worthless degree, you paid for it, and they told you to be proud of it. And people were co-signing, so we thought something was going on with it. You thought you was doing it. Right? Isn't that what happened? The University of Phoenix was at one point spending almost $400,000 a day, $400,000 a day on advertising, much of which was shown on daytime television, at bus stops and subway stations in primarily black and brown communities. See, and especially around the recession. Oh, you without a job? Well, only thing you need is you just need some new skills. All you need is some skills. We're going to give you the skills. You don't want to be at this bus stop, do you? We got your ticket. We got your ticket out of here. And the Roosevelt Institute did a study. The system is rigged. Student debt and the racial wealth gap. The report explains how student debt and the racial wealth gap are mutually reinforcing. Lack of wealth requires black borrowers to take on far more debt than their white peers and puts them at greater risk of default. The vicious cycle is directly contrary to the assumptions underlying the policy choice to use individual debt to finance higher education, namely the notion that increased education is a primary way to close economic gaps between black and white Americans. The report concludes by calling on progressive policymakers to institute new policies that address student debt with a racial lens. See, what they've been telling us is that no. All you got to do is just wipe all the debt clean. You just wipe all the debt clean and everything. It don't work. Because all the debt is in our family, is in our communities. We have become a contagion to wealth. Canceling all debt doesn't work. You know what that does? That gives a whole lot of money to white America, for the most part. And it doesn't address the cause of the creation of a bottom caste and what needs to happen in terms of reparation and everything that comes with reparations to make this group finally whole. You have to address all of it. You can't address part of it. And you can't say, well, let's just start from here. It's kind of like maiming somebody and cutting off limbs or something and say, well, hop about. We just got to start from here. You can't worry about what happened to you. But everything that happened to me is still my entire life. I inherited that. Right? You don't start, it's impossible to start from here. We're just going to start from zero. No, what you want to do is why should we as America, why should we give basically reparations to white America when we haven't paid reparations to ADOS? Because that's what this debt cancellation is. You're giving reparations to white America and say, "Oh man, y'all are suffering so bad under this debt. You gotta get rid of this debt." But what about us? We have a whole debt that's been owed for a very long time, and ain't nobody made us whole. But you're gonna spread all the money around and say, "Well, those of you who went to college, you'll get your stuff too." It's reparations for white America. For the most part, when you look at who goes to college, and you'll get some of the strayer people, and you'll get me or you'll get Antonio, but that's not the group. This is the group with the debt. You got to take care of your debt before you make new bills. How many times I got to say that? How many times? And another part is like we have kind of, there's a sort of individual effort or agency or wanting to have agency that runs through us too, right? As not only I'm a Gen Xer, as millennials too. We have made this kind of like instead of familial debt, we have decided to make this debt. We have decided to make it individual. Well, there's a problem with that. It's fine to make student debt individual debt when student debt ain't a lot of money. So back in the day when you could take a second job or take one job and pay your student debt off with your job, and I worked at the post office and paid off my student debt or whatever happened, that's fine. It can be an individual debt because an individual can pay it off. Once it gets to the price where it's not individual anymore, this is a familial debt. And even before that, I would argue, we are like the only group, like you go to white schools and their parents go in there and they pay stuff. Everybody understands this is familial. Whether or not you can pay it, everybody understands. With us, it's just like, we're just supposed to like, that's your debt. No, it's ain't my debt. It's family debt. What you mean? What you talking about? Wasn't you at the graduation saying that's my baby? We in this together. We are carrying the cost of slavery in our student debt, and in a lot of different ways. See, we don't have just one way that we carry it. We carry it in our debt. We carry that cost. And you can't just wipe one cost out for everybody. No, pay what you owe. But let's just get back to this for 1 second. There are a couple of bullet points I want to get through. And this is from the Roosevelt Institute again. Let me just bring that down. In order to finance higher education, black families already disadvantaged by generational wealth disparities rely more heavily on student debt and on riskier forms of student debt than white families do. The additional risks black students face when taking on student debt are exacerbated by other disparities in the higher education system, including predatory for-profit colleges that engage in race-based marketing. Race-based marketing. So you already gonna have to take on more debt. You already gonna have to do more. Then they come in here and target us in race-based targeting and give us worthless degrees, which really just box you out of education. That boxes you out of education, because now you not only that's kind of like worse than not having a degree, because you can never ever go get a degree. They just wasted your time, and the government allowed them to do it. The government allowed them to just snatch stuff from you, and we all carry that. How many of y'all know somebody in the chat that went to Strayer or went to one of these colleges? How many? And that's in your family. That's your husband, your wife, or whatever. So now you got to deal with that debt and what happened to them and what was done to them. Let me go to the next bullet really quick. Due to lower family wealth and racial discrimination in the job market, black students are far more likely than white students to experience negative financial events after graduating, such as student loan default, higher interest rate payments, and higher graduate debt balances. See, let me tell you something. what America is really good at with us is America is really good at laying traps everywhere. So you walk into a room and there's traps everywhere for you. Now that person over there got like 2 traps and they dispersed. So even if you get to the second trap, it's whatever. You got to worry before you get there. Even black poverty isn't like white poverty. We've talked about that. But we got traps everywhere. So what America does to us, lay traps all around the room. Then when your foot get in a trap and it gets snagged, then America says, oh my God, what happened to you? What's wrong with you? Why are you walking like this, you cripple? What's wrong with you? So you put traps everywhere and then you hold us accountable for stepping in a trap. You laid them everywhere. There's more trap than carpet. There's more trap than floor. You give us a bunch of bad choices and then you blame us for making a bad choice, for wanting to go to school or wanting to do better or whatever. Just doesn't make any sense. And then another thing that they did, they brought in this. So what? Let me just tell you a little bit about what these schools did, and it was talked about a bit in this book. Shout out to Tracy McMillan Cotton. It was brought out a little bit in the book, right? Because she should do it. And wrote a book about it and started feeling a certain way about it. One of the things that happens is that they play on our dysfunction and having dysfunction in our families. And that dysfunction comes from where we come from and slavery and the accrued disadvantage. So like we might have parents, and we usually do who don't have an education, right? So we don't have the parents or the social capital of the people to figure out how to pay for college if they don't have the money. Because you don't have none of the money, so you don't have the parents to kind of navigate that course for you. Or figure out how or have a friend, or they got a friend, or they got somebody who works as a counselor or works in whatever. We don't have that. So what happens is you walk into the for-profit college and they run all kinds of games. They say, oh, we'll take care of everything. You don't gotta worry, you just write down stuff and we'll file all the paperwork. We'll do all that. You ain't gotta do nothing. You just come here and we're gonna take care of it. We got you. That's taking advantage of family dysfunction. And not only that, if you can't maintain, like if you need a cosigner, right? You got to all these student loans need a cosigner. Then they get involved in spreading the debt around. So they're going to spread that debt to other people in your family. They're spreading that debt all the way around. So not only are you anchoring yourself in debt because you don't know no better. We don't know. Strayer is a school. If they wasn't a real school, or I'm not talking about just them, but there were a lot of schools. And some of these schools shut down. You don't know. There's no way for us to know. We don't have they're all on TV and everything, and they're talking about, and nobody has said they can't do it. This must be a real school. I have a second chance on life. And you go there thinking you're going to do that, and that you're going to be able to pay off the debt. And instead what you end up doing is just burdening yourself and your family with even more debt that they can't pay for. And you can't pay for, because that degree isn't going to materialize in you getting a higher salary or a better job, which is what they told you. They gave us pictures of black people looking like CEOs, gonna take over stuff. First, I was working at the Piggly Wiggly. I was working at the Piggly Wiggly, and I hated my job. And now I carry a satchel to work. And really made us think like, okay, we really gonna do something. No. No. And they're going to attach you to all that. They're going to attach you to all that student loan. You sign off for somebody, you get attached to all of it. These people, these for-profit colleges have been out here ruining all kinds of lives. And then because of, Obama put some rules in place, and people be like, well, Obama tried to help Yvette. He put some rules in place to shut down some of these for-profit colleges. It doesn't matter if you shut down for-profit colleges if you are the same person who made white America flush with money so that they could afford to pay anything. Quantitative easing, they can afford to pay whatever. You created so many more millionaires. That's why, listen, college is expensive, like regular colleges, not these for-profit colleges but college is expensive in general because somebody can pay it. If nobody could pay it, the price wouldn't be so high. If nobody could pay that exorbitant amount of money, the price wouldn't be so high. You can't create all these white millionaires and then come back and say, well, I shut down the for-profits. That's great, but you did a whole bunch of other stuff. That's why reparations has to happen. Because also what you see now is Trump coming back and Trump's coming back and doing a whole other thing. Let me see if I can find it. But Trump's coming back and he's taking back those rules, and they don't want to do that no more. So unless you have reparations and a whole reparations movement in this country, what you have is just us always being in flux. We're always at the behest of whatever president's in office. Oh, Lord. I hope Trump don't da-da-da-da. He will. Maybe Obama. We all want to, listen, in America, everybody is political. And anybody who tells you, well, the Asians don't do policies, whatever, throw it out, throw it away. It's fine to be political. But what we have to understand is that, like, it's not supposed to be this way where you're not American. See, that's what happens to us since we've never been made whole. Like, we kind of live and die on the vine. Now, at some point you need to be rooted. At some point you got to stop living and dying on the vine. At some point you need to be rooted in the country of your birth. And then we can talk about all the other stuff. Right? So how are you going to, this is one thing that always amazes me. This says targeted by Obama, DeVry and other for-profit colleges rebounding under Trump. And so I've had some of you say, well, why don't you ask Trump for reparations? Do you really think the man who is giving for-profit colleges, again, permission to put a sucking tube into our community and drain us dry, do you think that person is going to give you, me, or anybody else reparations? We got to stop doing this binary thing. Well, maybe we just need to go Republican. I'm not trying to down Republicans in general. I don't get involved in that. But I'm talking about this Republican. I'm talking about Trump. I'm talking about him, the man who is doing that. You think he's going to come through for us? After what for-profit colleges did to us and what Davos is doing over there, he's not going to do it. It's just stupid to kind of keep bringing him up in the reparations conversation. And like I said, all of these places shut down. Like under the new rules, right? The for-profit college chain Education Corporation of America said this week that this was a while ago. What date was that article? That article was, I think it was 2016, 2015. No, it was before that. It was before that, wasn't it? Sometime. All of its schools leaving almost 20,000 students with partially completed degrees and credits that many other schools will not accept. That shouldn't even be you shouldn't even be allowed to be a school if people won't accept it. Come on, man. The change program included training for aspiring chefs, nurses, and green energy workers at schools including Brightwood College, Virginia College, and the Golf Academy of America, which sold itself under the slogan, preparing students to win in the game and the business of golf. And that's interesting. And that's Trump. You're not going to get it under this president. I'm sorry. I don't even know why we're doing it this way. The coded language of for-profit colleges. Everest. The industry refuses to acknowledge its success is predicated on inequality. I will go even further. Yeah, inequality, but I will go even further. It's predicated on inequality, but it's also predicated on just making sure that we're always at the bottom. And that we're always desperate. Because you have to be desperate to go for this kind of stuff. Now, this is kind of what you can't discharge it, but here's the thing. Finalized in October, the rules provide for the automatic discharge of loans from schools that closed. So the schools that closed in 2013 banned schools, but then there were a lot of people who were left. You were supposed to approve them or something happened. A lot of people, like 65,000 students were left in the breach. I think that's what I read. Banned schools from including students to sign pre-dispute arbitration agreements and provide blanket relief of students in instance of widespread misrepresentation. Listen, who else did we talk about last week that has a mandatory arbitrary dispute thing in there? I'm not going to bring it up, but we talked about somebody else, fam. We talked about somebody else. $100,000 in debt. What was he at? DeVry? $100,000 in debt. DeVry, and he works in a prison now. The first annual results released in January show 800 programs failed the gainful employment standards, with graduates having annual loan payments greater than 30% of the discretionary income and 12% of total earnings. Of the failings, 98% were offered by for-profit institutions, according to the Education Department. You can't even get a job. That's what the gainful employment rule instituted by Obama is. Like, if you have to show that people can actually work. They go to your institution, they can actually find a job. Nah, that's not what happened. And this is one of the students talking about it. Every day there was a lack of confidence because I'm just another person who only finished high school. That's what Masso said. The reason why she said this is because you went to school and they told you in a job interview, she said, that your degrees are worthless. They don't count. You go to school and your degrees don't count. Masso is now at Malcolm X College, one of the city colleges of Chicago, where she is studying to become a certified nursing assistant. She hopes to eventually get a master's degree to become a nurse practitioner, a career that pays a median salary of more than $97,000 in the Chicago metro area. The median nursing assistant is $27,000. This is where we are. This is where we are. We're just, somebody said it last week. Like chum in the water for the sharks. You have to have a kind of societal restructuring. That's what has to happen. The way we're doing things now, in terms of how we're doing things and how we're moving, it doesn't work. When you try to fix things piecemeal, well, we're going to get him out of there. That's not just it. That's one thing. That's not everything. And we give the majority, somebody says all the time, like, well, Yvette, why you go at Democrats so hard? Because we give the majority of our vote to Democrats. Black people give the majority of our votes to Democrats. Shouldn't we have an exchange for that? It makes no sense that this was allowed to happen, that these colleges were allowed to come in and extract millions on millions on millions of dollars in federal aid and not give those black students a degree in exchange. It doesn't make any sense. Corinthian colleges shut down, ending classes for 16,000 overnight. And they would just say anything just to get you in there. We got to get you in the door. This is about sales. It's about sales, and marketing. It's not about getting you an education. And under the new rules, they couldn't do it. It says, but those same tactics, what the rough tactics they use to try to get people into school and tell them they was gonna get a job. When the Department of Education ruled, in part of because of its aggressive recruiting, ITT could no longer enroll students using federal loans. Federal dollars not gonna pay for this scam no more. I don't understand how it got that far. As tuition costs continued to rise, by the time ITT closed, the cost of associate degree programs reached nearly $50,000. Many students finished without job prospects that would allow them to pay off their loans. Instead, many wound up in low-paying private security jobs. The highest security officer position that I helped help students get paid 25, what is that, $12.50 an hour? Can't pay that back. According to the Florida Board of Nursing in 2014, just half of ITT nursing students passed their professional exam. Both the nursing and criminal justice programs were ultimately suspended at many ITT campuses. Westwood forgave a lot of loans. And this is where we are. This is where we are. And this is how the colleges pretend. Hold on a second, let me make this bigger for you. The colleges sell themselves as a way out of poverty and desperation to people who are poor and directionless. 96% of all for-profit, we talked about this, students take out loans compared to 57% at normal public colleges. And while the average college student only has an 8% chance of defaulting on their loan in the first few years, for-profit students have a 25% chance. So what happens is you end up working for the white man who, because you took on all this debt, you end up working for the white man who owns the school for the rest of your life. It's like indentured servitude. You end up working for whoever the white man is who owns this college for the rest of your life. Now that you say, well, because your student loan went to him. So you are indebted to something that you could not pay, that you thought was going to pay off and get you a better life. And so we just exacerbate and widen the racial wealth gap, and they keep on going. Everybody makes money off the bottom cash. You have to pay your salary to a debt that is tied to the wealth the owner of the rye made. And nobody cares that this happened to you. Right? Nobody at all. So anyway, fam, we are at about that time. It's about time to take calls. I am going to give me a moment to set up the phones as per usual. And I want to hear about it. If anybody went to one of these schools, let me know. And we just got to talk about it. Like the wealth extraction from the bottom to the top is one of the most vicious things. And it's why we can't be. It's why we have to demand that Democrats do two things at one time. We can't allow them to make this election just about impeachment. You can do that. The people in Congress, y'all can do that. Well, we're not even talking about the Senate because y'all, but you can do that, right? Pelosi, knock yourself out. Salute. We support it. We saw what Trump did right here. Go for it. But you can't do it like, well, we can't worry about that. We got to get Trump out of here. No, we have an agenda. We're an agenda-driven group. You don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to just do this thing where you run around and say you can't worry about this because you got stuff to do. You can't do that. You can't let these people. We are seeing people extract massive amounts of. This is basically, this is swindling, because you sold me something. You sold me like you sold me a degree, and that's not a degree. It don't count. It don't matter. School is shut down. It doesn't mean anything. You gave me a meaningless piece of paper and put me in debt, but 6 figures or whatever. No, this is a crime. We have so many, and we have everything. It's not just this. It's environmental. It's this school thing, and it's all because it all extends from slavery and the accrued disadvantage. It's all about bottom castness, and we got to stay focused on that. We can't be running around here just talking about whatever the Democrats wants to talk about, wants to chase our tail all the time. You can do that and do this. You're not as crazy as you look or act. You can do two things. Candidates and the party in general. You can do two things, and that is our expectation. Don't get over here and start telling us we just got to worry about impeachment. We can't worry about nothing else. That dog don't hunt. So I'm going to go to the phones, hear what everybody has to say. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, fam, we are back. I am going straight into the calls. Oh, fam, don't forget, if I don't mention it, because I forget at the end of the show, please do not forget that next week, that's the week of the conference. There will be no shows next week. Next week is like a hiatus. No Monday, no Wednesday. Um, I will be flying into Louisville early, so there will be no shows. So if somebody is looking, what happened to Breaking Brown? What happened to Breaking Brown? There ain't no show. Like, tell them, like, no, 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 no. She said there was no show. She said there was no show next week because of the conference. So next week, no shows. We will be back after the conference with shows, but the conference is a show next week. So, all right, fam. Let's get into it. Will it be live stream? We're still working to figure out the technology on that. I hear you. I've heard everybody. I'm still trying to figure out though how many people would live stream. I don't have a number on that. I'm trying to figure out how to gauge a number on it. All right, so we'll see. I am going to the phones. Let me make sure of something really quickly, please. Please. Let me see. I am going to 515. 515. What is your name? Where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey.
Hi, this is Jackie from Iowa.
Iowa. Okay, Jackie.
Yeah, there's some black people in Iowa, but not many. So I have two questions for you. So first, I saw that you had retweeted a video that I posted of that Bob Hart's Abby Shola video.
Oh, yes, that was you. I didn't know.
Yeah, that was me because I saw the Hollywood Reporter article, and I was like, I wonder what is going on with this show. So I went and I checked it out, and my spirit just wasn't feeling right about that scene. So it was really interesting seeing the conversation that everybody's been having about, what's going on between Africans and ADOS. Hold
on one second, fam. For those who don't know, this Abiola show is about a Nigerian woman who has a romantic interest, who is a white guy, and she gets into this, just to give them context, so people didn't see the tweet. There's this interaction. It's an awful interaction to me. That she gets into it. The Nigerian woman goes to the school. Because her kid has gotten into a fight with another ADOS kid, and to make a long story short, the Nigerian woman tells the ADOS woman, one of our children is going to be a doctor, and it's not going to be your kid, because she said the kid had called her kid, the ADOS kid had called her kid a jungle bee. Something that we have never used. It's never been a term, and we've never ostracized Africans as a group. We are very welcoming to anybody. It's just, if we're whatever. But so that's what she was talking about. That Abiola show and that interaction between her as a Nigerian and the ADOS mother. And I don't even know how all of this stuff happened. It was just two kids name called anyway. Like, kids get name called all the time about whatever stands out most about them, but nobody ever said, like, I never seen any kids use the B word in elementary. I know these kids are different, but go on, fam. I'm sorry. I just want to give people context of what was said.
Oh, no, absolutely. That was just, I was just glad that, I got to kind of see that conversation. And it kind of personally relates to my second question. And that is, so I'm really glad that I'm the first time calling in, I get to talk to you. So I've found out about you guys first when Kamala ran for president, and I saw you guys talking on Twitter, and I was like, oh, it's ADOS, and so that's kind of how I got, connected to your show. So I've been watching your show even more frequently this year. And my personal question is, how do I talk about, issues that are dealing with ADOS, because I am married to a West African, and I never, because I didn't know what ADOS was until the beginning of this year, I never knew that there was this issue between, continental Africans and Black Americans, ADOS, and I never noticed it. Even when we were dating and all this other stuff, I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, just little slight things that I just didn't pick up on. And it wasn't until I started listening to you guys' show, and I was like, oh, there are differences, and I didn't realize, like, how big of a difference it was, how culturally big it was, just because, like, I hadn't interacted with a lot of Africans in Iowa. Like, most of the black people that I interacted with were, the same as me. And so me and my husband, like, I have him, like, listen to the show sometimes, and I talk about reparations, all that stuff, and how, like, my people really need this, and, he supports it and everything, and, but when I get to, like, other people in the community, like, outside of that, like, they're like, oh, I want reparations too, and I'm like, no, let me
ask you, hold on 1 second, fam, before you go into this, let me ask you just about yourself for a moment. What is your background?
I'm ADOS Black American. I was born and grew up here in Iowa, but my family is from the South. So my family is from Georgia, Arkansas, and Missouri. And my mother was born in Missouri. On my father's side, from Georgia and Chicago. And so, my family has been rooted, been in this country. All my grandparents, great-grandparents are, ADOS. So that's my family background, and I've grown up mostly in Iowa because my grandparents, they moved here in the 70s, and so we've been in Iowa since then. So I guess my question is, like, there was a conversation that me and my husband had that was, like, very, like, poignant, is that, like, when I was telling my family that, I'm dating, an African, they were everybody was happy. Like, no one ever said anything bad at all. Like, it was all very positive from all of my family. They was just very excited and like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And then, when we had this conversation a few months back, we sat down, I was like, what's it like? Like, how do people when I'm not around, talk about, you dating an American? And, he revealed to me for the first time that, like, a lot of, people in his tribe and in his country have a lot of negative things to say about the fact that, we were together. And, like, I was like, and they would say certain things that I wouldn't understand it, because I don't know the language. And it would either be around me or all this other stuff. And it really hurt. Like, I was very, very hurt. Like, I was in tears because I was like, my people don't do that to you guys. Like, like, my family and all the black people I've been around, we've never talked bad about Africans ever. But, to hear that, and I was like, okay, now I'm picking up why certain people were not, dealing with me, or why they had, I don't know. It's just interesting, and I want to know. Like,
let me just say this, fam. Let me just say this, and my heart goes out to you because I know a lot of us. I didn't understand either. I was always on board. All my 20s, I didn't have any context for anything, so I totally get it. But what I'm going to say to you is, the New Yorker article is everything. It's not about us having differences of opinions and not agreeing. And we built the country. Like, you don't get to talk bad about me in my country. You don't get to make slights against me in my country. You don't get to whisper about me in the country that I built and paved the way for you to be here. You don't have that right. You understand? I don't think how anybody believes they have that right to do that, because especially if you're a black or brown immigrant in this country, what you have is because of an ADOS freedom struggle in this country, right? And we built the country before the freedom struggle. We built it. So it's not about we have disagreements or we don't agree or there's problem between us. No. We built it. You didn't. We built it. You might have sold us, but you didn't build it. There is no difference of opinion. It just is what it is.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand that. Try to communicate that to other people in his family and, other Africans that I interact with in or whatever. and I'm kind of like saying, hey, this is what our people, this is what my people went through, you know, and they'll tell me about theirs or whatever. And so I think that I'm really glad that I've been listening to the show for this past, you know, within this year, because I've actually like learned a lot more about like, you know, what ADOS, like what we've been going through it. And I personally, every time I listen to your show, I'm like, yes, I feel that. I feel, you know, I understand like the financial struggles, you know, of, you know, what our family's been burning on. I know someone in the chat was saying that I'm a high earner. I'm actually not. I'm actually, I don't know what that was about, but
no, don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat, fam. Don't look at the chat. Here's what I would say though. The failure is really, I know everybody, we love our family, that's fine, but we have to critique everybody. Our families didn't root us in like reparations and who we are in terms of us owning this. Whether or not you acknowledge the fact that we know what we did here, and they didn't root us in that. See, when you go to other countries, other African countries, they can trace their lineage all the way back. We can't do that. There's a lostness here. We're reclaiming that though. We're not lost no more. So you're not going to be taking advantage of us. You're not going to be able to whisper around us what you saying, what you talking about. You got something to say? Hello? You got a word on it? We're not doing that no more. See, they didn't root us in like this is our country. We own this. We are American. Ain't no running away. I wish I was African. And so they get to be like the paternal, like to play daddy. We're not doing that anymore. That's over with. And the failure is really on, I know people say, oh, you bet you pile on boomers. The failure is like you all didn't root us into like reparations and understanding that we own this. This is our country. We have an ownership here. And we got to fight for it. It's been a fight, and we just got to continue that fight. We got to continue that freedom struggle in this country. We were not rooted properly. And this is a blame. You know, this is a blame on everyone who didn't root us that way, who told us that, well, we should just go buy a dashiki and know our other roots. No, you're American. You're American. That means you white and black. Yeah. That means you everything. You a lot of stuff that these other groups are not. And ain't nothing wrong with who we are. And ain't no reason for anybody who comes from a country without infrastructure to laugh at us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, I'm very proud to be a Black American. Like, my family has taught me a lot about, you know, Black American history and all this stuff. So people saying, like, you know, that I'm not rooted in myself. I am. It's just that's who I happen to fall in love with, and all this other stuff. But, as long as
I mean,
I'm very proud of Black American.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If you and him are good, that's fine. But if you gotta check somebody, don't let nobody come in your house or nowhere around you talking bad to you. I'm not saying don't you touch nobody, but don't listen. You gotta go. You're not gonna disrespect me, or you're not gonna disrespect ADOS in this house. Not in this house. It's not gonna happen here, and everybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know what you built. This is my home. This is my abode. I don't care if we out. Listen, I'll leave. I'm not going to be part. Like, we have to start drawing lines of demarcation with people. We built this country. We have welcomed you in here. We are in a welcoming group. But if you disrespect what we built and the trail that we blazed for you, if you do that, we are finished and we're not coming back. I will not. You don't get in front of, you don't marry a Jewish person and then get over there and giggle and sniggle or say something underhanded about the Holocaust. You're not going to do it over here either. It's a new day.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with me. I'm really glad that I got to, call on the show for the first time and listening in. And
thank you, fam. I appreciate that. But you got to have a conversation with your husband too. I'm going to just say this and then you can get off. He shouldn't have been keeping them secrets about what people were saying about you behind your back. I don't like a marriage with secrets. I don't like a family with a whole lot of secrets. Y'all can deal with that offline.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, fam.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one. I don't deal good with secrets, fam. We're going to have to, you got a relationship and y'all done married and put rings on and said y'all going to be there for each other and all this stuff and the family talking and talking trash. You ain't telling me nothing. You ain't got nothing to say. Well, I thought it might hurt your feelings. You don't get to make that call. You get to be honest with me. And then I decide how I deal with your family. I decide how I maneuver within that landscape. I get to decide that. But you have responsibility to be honest with me. Did you laugh too? I need to know. So I appreciate her being honest though, and I appreciate her trying to work through it. I wish them all the best. But a lot of relationships are going to have to be reformatted. Doesn't mean they're going to have to be ended, but they're going to have to be reformatted. That arrangement is going to have to change. Things are going to have to be weighted differently. Right? It has to. I appreciate her though for the honesty of what she said. And I appreciate her for that Abiola. Somebody told me the show is Bob Hart's Abiola. That's a show that she brought up, and she brought up how to let me just say this. You have to live in a space. You have to live in a space. Somebody said that the caller was crying. Yeah, because there's a lot going on. It's not just me. Stop making it out as I make people cry. It's not just that. There's a lot going on that she probably hadn't anticipated, and that she thought, sometimes you think something is one way and it's another way. And so like you have your eyes open to something that you're going to have to deal with. Doesn't mean that you and your spouse are not going to be together. You can. But it means that like this relationship is probably going to take more work than you anticipated. I have faith, Carla. I have faith in you. You made it this far. I have faith. Your husband sounds like he is very much willing to engage and watch the show. I got faith in both of y'all that y'all can do it. But what I'm saying is that it might take more work than you have anticipated. It might take more work to deal with his family in terms of making sure they respect you than you have anticipated. If you have been in rooms and you've kind of heard little things being said about you, like you said in the show, that is problematic. And I'm going to tell the husband, I hope you're watching, you got to check your family. Because she shouldn't have to feel like this in the country of her birth. She's not wherever you come from. She's at home. You have to make sure that she's comfortable. This woman I just talked to sounds like a very tenderhearted and kind woman. You got to do some work. I have all faith that you all can do it. But you might have to do more work than you anticipated. And in terms of what she said about that show, it was an awful. Like the thing I say about we as ADOS, we have always welcomed Africans, and I think I'm not opposed to that. I think we did that for a reason. But you can't come here regarding that Bob Hart's Abiola show. It's like CBS, I think, and like your response to our welcome kindness, because we've never had a culture of just ostracizing Africans, and nor should we. But like you can't take that kindness and then condemn us for stupidity and xenophobia on TV because that's kind of like what white America wants to hear about us. That's not okay. It's not okay to be that way. That is not how we exchange. And somebody said, well, it was the white writers. I don't care. The show is the show, and the actor in the show is the actress, and it is what it is. Everybody in that, listen, you can't do it. I would have had a problem with them lines. That script was awful. It pathologized ADOSness. So go check it out. It's on my page. Go check it out. And yeah, we'll go to the next caller. That was a deep call, fam. I wish y'all the best, and I think you can do it. You're just gonna have to work harder than you thought. I am going now to 214. 214, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. My name is Nikki. I'm actually putting Nikki73 in the chat and Geisha Girl 211 on Twitter.
Okay.
And I've been a long time listener and supporter. And I'm calling because this show actually speaks to my personal situation. I'm 46 years old, and back in '94, I attended cosmetology school. I was told when I went in for the first consultation that I was going to have all these great opportunities ahead of me, and that I could even have a job in my last months of school. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I now live in Dallas, which is why I have the 214 area code. But, yeah, so I went to school, and I was one of the top students in my class, graduated, and I had a difficult time finding work because there weren't that many black-owned hair salons in Brooklyn. There were a lot of Dominican hair salons. There were a lot of African hair salons that did braiding and things like that. But no ADOS, black-owned businesses. They were very hard to find. So I went through a lot of different salons, and I had a very difficult time. Eventually, I already had one child, a small child. Eventually, I left New York, went to California, met my now husband, came back to New York, and worked in a salon. I was pregnant with my son. I had to work at the salon and at the video store next door, pregnant, and I had a difficult pregnancy.
Okay.
My husband had to work 6 days a week. Now, this school made all these promises, and none of those promises came through. Now, later on in years, I did end up working for a very well-known makeup company. And but during this time, I became very ill with chronic illness, and I was being disabled in 2003. I finished school in '94. I have been working with the Board of Ed for the past 4.5 years trying to get my loan forgiven, because that's what they say that you can do if you're disabled.
Okay.
What they don't tell you is when you get in there and you start the process, you have to actually improve another 5 years of disability. It doesn't matter that I've already been disabled for 10 or 15 years. You have to prove another 5 years.
Oh.
In the interim of doing that, they then, just this year, without me having any knowledge of it, they snatched my income tax refund. I depend on that because, again, I'm disabled. I receive a monthly check. And I had to work 10 years, mind you, up until last year, part-time, just to make ends meet while being disabled. I became so ill that my doctor finally signed me out last year, and I haven't been able to go back since. So they took my disability, my income tax refund, and then a couple of months later, while I'm talking to them, calling them weekly, trying to find ways to work this out, figure something out, they're telling me not only have they offset my income tax refund, but they're going to also offset my disability payment. That's all the money I have. It comes in on the 3rd, and by the 5th, I have nothing until the next month. So it's very difficult. I have a grown daughter who's married with 2 small children. I have a son who just turned 20 last week. He's a sophomore in college. Even with an academic scholarship, because this is what the high school told us, he needs to take these accelerated classes. So this is going to help him in college. But we found out when he was graduating that no, they actually don't help him in college. Had he just taken regular high school classes, because he was also a football player and athlete, had he just taken regular classes, he would have actually been in the top 5 to 10% of students across Texas. So his grades, actually, the fact that he was in accelerated classes actually harmed him. And so he was not in the top 5-10%. He was like at the 11%. So in finding schools, we finally found a school here in Texas about 2.5 hours from us. But this is a private university. It's the oldest university in Texas. But he's attending there. This is his sophomore year. But even with academic scholarship, because it's a D3 football school, so they couldn't offer him an athletic scholarship, only an academic. They gave him that, and even with that, and with all of the grants that he was able to get, my son still had to take out a loan, and my husband and I had to take out a loan as well. So we're still looking at even more debt. Now I'm in a program, finally, because for months they told me there was no way I could stop the offset. Finally, they told me I could stop the offset if I contacted this other agency. So I did that. Well, now they did stop the offset, so thank God they're no longer taking my disability payment. But I still can't get an answer from them. So I'm just kind of hanging in there. And the issue that you were discussing before about the forgiveness program that they have now, where if the school went out of business or so on and so on, your loan could be forgiven. Well, my school did go out of business. But what happened was a few years later, another person came and purchased the name of the school and reopened it in Manhattan rather than in Brooklyn. So now I have to wait for them to figure this out, and there's still no guarantee that I will be able to have my loan forgiven and to also get my money back that they have already taken. So it's real out here. They tell you that these programs are available. They tell you that there's help, but really there isn't. And they don't seem to care. I didn't even know that, to my knowledge, debt could not be collected from Social Security disability. But apparently, Board of Ed, they can. They can take it. And they can go through a third party to do it, which usually is not allowed through IRS. Usually a debt collector cannot go in and take your money before it's reached your bank account. And even then, they would have to have some type of court order or something. Well, apparently, that's not true. Apparently, Board of Ed can hire an outside collection agency, and they can take it right from IRS before it even reaches your account. So it's all set up. It's not to help.
You said something. You said something earlier that I'm trying to understand too. You said something earlier. You said that a lot of the salons when you were trying to look for work were African or whatever. Like, what was the difficulty in dealing with them? What did you have? Why did you have a hard time with that?
Yes, very difficult. Very difficult. It was, first of all, there was no way you could be comfortable working there. You know when someone is talking about you in a different language, whether you understand that language or not. And just to give you a quick personal understanding of who I am, my mother, ADOS, but my father was first generation born in America from Puerto Rico. So, and then my mother married a Haitian man. So a Haitian man raised me. And I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So understand, I've been around these people my whole life. Yeah. So I don't have to know the language to know when someone is saying things about me that are distasteful. So it was an uncomfortable environment to work in. That's when they even considered hiring you. Most times they did not want to hire you unless you were one of them, either Dominican or African or so forth, any other. And it's crazy because that happened, like I said, back in the 90s. Well, we're now in 2019, and I'm living in Dallas for the past 20 years. I'm speaking to other young ladies who have gone to cosmetology school, particularly for nails. They can't find work because the nail salons are owned by Asians, and the Asians won't hire them. There are a lot of young ladies who do braids and hair, and they're having to work out of their home because they're having difficulty finding, like I said, black-owned hair salons and nail salons that they can work in, and not be treated, not be treated in a distasteful manner. Because there was one young black lady, she did go work in an Asian salon, hired her, but what they would do was they wouldn't allow her to have the customers that were coming in for the fancy, tips with all the sparkles and stuff. They would only have her doing like pedicures and like the cheapest things. So she wasn't making the kind of money that she should have been making because they were just kind of giving her the little trash work, the leftover work. And not only that, she would leave to go to lunch, and the woman would be calling her at wherever she was at lunch, telling her she needs to come back because there was a pedicure waiting. So they had no respect for, giving her a lunch break and her, regular breaks. And they were giving her just, the walk-in and the lowest paid, job that came in.
Well, it kind of, what it reminds me of?
Especially in that business.
You know what it reminds me of, fam? Did any of y'all see that article about, there was in the Root about these two black women who opened the first beauty supply store or something, and wherever they were opening a beauty supply store. Yeah. Two black women, and they said that the Asians ran them out of business because they wouldn't sell to them. It kind of reminds me of that.
Yes, exactly, and that's what it is. And the thing is, a lot of young black women. I actually went to my son's high school last year. Because I have good relationships with his former teachers, and they had a career day, and she invited me to come to the career day to speak to them because like I said, for the past 10 years, I've worked as a makeup artist part-time for a large brand. And even speaking to a lot of, the students there, some of these students told me the conversations they had with their parents, and their parents are just like, no, don't do that. You won't be able to make any money because, and they would explain to them, where are you going to go and work? What are you going to do? You have money to open your own place? And so they felt beaten down by that. And it's really crazy because makeup artists nowadays, you can do a face in 40 minutes to an hour, and you can charge $65. So imagine you can make $65 an hour. I could do that now if I only had the money to be able to go and rent a suite and establish myself as now a freelance artist.
I appreciate it, fam. I appreciate it, fam. That's been a very interesting evolution from that and to them taking your disability. And I appreciate. I'm sure everybody appreciates it because I didn't even know that they could take your disability. That the Department of Ed, because they're Ed, can take it. Maybe a private company can't, but like the government can take government money or whatever. That's what it kind of sounds like. But I appreciate.
Well, they're using private companies. They're using private companies to do it. The company that actually took it is a privately owned company.
Yeah, is a privately owned debt collector.
So
that's what it is.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. The chat appreciate. We appreciate it. I mean, I had no idea. Oh, stuff we have to navigate to try to live. Okay, I'm going now to 330. I'm coming to 330. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's happening?
What's going on?
This is Darnell from Phoenix via Akron, Ohio. I'm glad. I can't believe I got in. But let me break it down to you. I used to work for the University of Phoenix.
Okay.
So I'm about to give you the rundown about everything that went on back in the day. So I used to work there from 2006 to 2009. I worked in the School of Advanced Studies, so I basically worked with PhD students.
Okay.
Students that was trying to get terminal degrees, and we would get a lot of black folks that would call in, that had master's degrees, couldn't find work, this, that, and the third, and they would call in, and we would have to use sales tactics to get these people enrolled in school. We had quotas. We had everything you can imagine. They would take money away from us after we got evaluated every 6 months. They would take money away from us if we didn't meet our quotas. Like, for an example, 6 months review, you didn't meet your numbers, they would take 3% of your pay. It was absolutely terrible. The president at the time, I'm name dropping because he's a piece of horse manure. The guy's name is Brian Mueller. Actually, he got fired, and the reason why I know he got fired is because 2 weeks later, he went over to a competitor, Grand Canyon University, and started doing the same thing he was doing at the University of Phoenix. They had lawsuits out the wazoo. It was, they had Mormons that was in hiring and firing positions, not giving regular people opportunities. It was an absolute complete mess, and I'm embarrassed to put that on my resume that I worked there. It was embarrassing. Yeah. So,
let me ask you something, fam. You said you're embarrassed about putting on your resume. You said you're embarrassed about it. So do you feel somehow responsible at some level about what happened? I know you didn't orchestrate it, but I'm just asking, is that part of your embarrassment?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm embarrassed, because I feel like before I got the job, I got accepted to the MBA program at Cleveland State. I'm originally from Akron.
Okay.
So I got accepted to the MBA program at Cleveland State. And then a friend of mine who was going to the University of Phoenix, he told me about the program. I asked him some questions about it. He was like, yeah, man, check it out. So I called him. I was talking to a counselor, this and that, and they told me that I could go there for free if I worked there. So, I'm ADOS, that's music to my ears. So I applied for a job in Cleveland. They had an opening in Cleveland, and then they had an opening out here in Phoenix. I applied for the job in Phoenix. I applied for the job in Cleveland. I got the job in Phoenix. I've been out here, and the rest is history. But didn't know all of that was going on until I actually started working there. Then once I started working there and started talking to the master's degree level people and starting to get a feel for the clientele, and it that's what made me feel bad to this day. I was just telling my mom, me and my mom, we sitting out on the patio listening to the show, and I told my mother that I felt bad about the work that I did there, because I felt like I was taking advantage of my people. And I didn't know it at the time, but you know, you live and you learn, and then reflecting back, you know, we all make mistakes, you dig?
Yeah.
So looking back at it, I don't, you know, I don't feel good about that. Not at all. Not at all. So just to get a fan base a little, you know, a little insight on the University of Phoenix
I appreciate that context
and how they shake and bake. Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you adding context to the conversation, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you being able to reflect back and just think about, like, you know, I did this and I saw what happened, and you know, I didn't know, but I'm still not proud. I appreciate it. It takes a grown person to do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, you live in your life. Ain't nobody perfect. We all out here trying to make it the best way we can, and that's how you learn from your mistakes. And you know, I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing at the time, but you know, hindsight 2020, looking back at it, I'm like, no, that probably wasn't the power move to make. Even though I got my master's for free, and you know, but you know, all money ain't good money. That's the old saying.
And that's what they say, fam. All right, fam. I appreciate you. I'm gonna let you go, but I appreciate you giving me and the family the context of what was happening, and also your own internals about what happened and how you felt about what happened. I appreciate that. I am going now to. I'm going to 256. 256. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is underscore Trey Slay on Facebook, also known as Political. I'm calling from Decatur, Alabama.
What's going on, fam? Speak up a little bit for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that America sold us a dream that we couldn't pay for, but they already sold it, so they're still making us pay for it. I went to school in Troy, Alabama, at Troy University for 3 years, and I got to my junior year, and I was in school, and I just quit because I had got to the second semester of my junior year, and I couldn't afford my books, and school was like, I had debt about $50,000, and I was 19 years old, so I just quit because I didn't see a way for me to go forward. But at the same time, like the people that I graduated with, and it's something I learned later on, like they were all receiving these legacy scholarships. So they were all going to school for free while I had to pay for it. And another thing that I learned from these trust fund babies is that they have these things called game day houses. Like I said, I'm from Alabama, so football is really big. So what they do is, like, maybe one of their family members, one of the parents went to school at Alabama or Auburn, and they buy a house. So now these kids are going to school for free, and they also have housing that is paid for, while we're taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. So I just wanted to talk about the legacy scholarships and how we've been locked out of education and they're getting it for free.
All right, fam. I saw a statistic about like Harvard or something. I can't remember what it was. And it was like 42% or something is either legacy or athlete. And I don't even know how anybody uses the word meritocracy to describe this country. But anyway, fam, I appreciate you calling in and giving us your personal story. Personal stories really do kind of make the narrative, fam. So I appreciate it, and I thank you, and I thank you for calling in. But it's really kind of sad to me that like you have so many ADOS in this position, like you get through school or almost through school, and it's just kind of like it becomes too much. The money runs out, and you don't really have no support, and so you just don't make it through. So keep doing what you're doing, fam. I appreciate it, and it ain't been fair. We all know that. We all in here with you.
Right.
And I appreciate you calling, fam. Yeah,
No problem.
What happens to a dream deferred, fam? Ain't that it? Gosh, like it's our whole story. All right, I'm coming to 580-580. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on? I'm Avery, Colorado.
What's going on, Colorado? Avery, what's up?
Yeah, you done much. How's everybody doing?
I'm good. What's going on?
Miss Yvette, I really appreciate that. Say thank you, and I appreciate everything you're doing. ADOS, man, it's something, it's been a long time coming from what I've come to realize. I've been on this journey kind of identifying who I was as a person, and the deeper you get, there's that disconnect that ADOS provides, you know, one as far as growing and then identifying who they are as a person. But the reason for my call, man, is kind of thanking everybody for sharing their perspective on how things are going, man, and kind of get anxious on making moves on what needs to happen. And you kind of get lost on how do you make this move, certain moves on behalf of a certain group of people. Why haven't we kind of taken the Indian Native American structure and kind of implement that onto ADOS so that we were able to take more of a, I guess, investment in education on behalf of a group instead of being sectored into immigrant blacks, if that makes any sense.
What is the you mean about how they kind of differentiate themselves from other groups? Is that what you mean by the immigrant path? I mean the Native American path. I'm sorry.
Yeah. How can we take a similar like structure of the Native Americans do? How do we take ADOS and build it on that structure so that we're able to provide grants and scholarships like Native Americans do?
Well, first of all, I think, you know, the Native Americans, it's interesting because they have a lot of like the Smith and Wesson thing, and they trying to buy a whole gun company. And on the other hand, you have some who are poor because of the government has kind of put kind of limitations on what they can do. But what I will say is what they understand is that you have to be very clear about who you are, and you have to be very clear about the exclusivity of the justice claim. That doesn't mean you don't have allies. That doesn't mean you don't work with other people in your politics. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means your politics has to have meaning. It has to have an exchange in it. But what they have done is just is basically said, like, everybody doesn't get to just be us, right? We have a specific claim. You know, the Trail of Tears, all of that. We have a specific claim in this country, and they have stood on that. And one of the things that happens with us is that we haven't stood on that. And part of the reason that we haven't stood on that is because we were slaves. Like the Indians, the Native Americans were here when the white man got here, and they fought and they lost. Like, we were slaves, and we were brought here in the belly of a ship, right? In the bellies of ship, and then there was, you know, rape and intermixing, all kinds. Like, our story is a different story. That's the first thing.
Right.
You know, we have to kind of understand that. You know, we've had, like, in terms of Simmons College, the first ADOS scholarships, right? Ever. Like, that's like 300K or something. Wow. Ever. So we are on the path to doing that. But what we need more than anything is just like, we've had so many people fight for, like, to say that, like, this, no, you don't get to just have your justice claim. You have to share with everyone. I think we can't do it that way. We have to be very clear. No, this is our justice claim. And it can't be, well, Yvette, what's your point? He got a point. Why are you on the fence? Forget about him. What you doing on the fence? So, you know, I think we're on the path. We have to understand that, like, this has only been going on for like 3 years in terms of us even pushing this. This is a very short period of time. I think in this very short period of time, we're doing a lot, but it's not nearly enough. Not nearly enough ADOS people are coming on board. It's still a lot in this amount of time in terms of what we've been able to get done. But we've been able to get done. We've been able to do this though with a few people. We need to start bringing on critical mass. It's kind of crazy that, you know, and I'm not saying anything bad about you, caller, but I'm just saying to say that, well, we aren't on the same page with, like, and we're right. But like with like, there's too much of ADOS America that's just going on doing their own thing and believing in individual agency. That's a real problem. And not believing that we have to be collectively on the same code to be on the same path for collective uplift. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the ball game, though.
Right. So what if we took a path, we drew a line, say we created an imaginary line to head as a direction, and that imaginary line was sustainability, because I think that regardless of what we're fighting for or what the past has brought us, there's unforeseen future ahead of us, and one of those big things is climate change. I think that if we are able to present complete facts on how our culture has been put in position to build for others, we've never been able to sustain for our own culture. I think that putting in terms of things that we need to be able to incorporate to continue the culture that we've added to humanity, we should be able to have the tangibles necessary to sustain that shit. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
So,
What do you mean? Put it out there. Who are we telling?
We're telling governments. We're telling the UN. We're telling.
See, I don't think that. See, I mean, Malcolm tried to go to the UN. It ain't work. Like the UN can't do. The UN's not gonna do anything to America. Understand that. The UN has no sway in America.
The UN has, whether we want to admit it or not, they have some influence. And they look at facts.
Do you know
what I mean? In terms of
I saw
and all that shit.
Listen, I saw the UN come to Loudoun County and say that we were living in third world conditions and that they'd never seen anything like it. America didn't do anything. America does not care about what the UN has to say. The UN cannot move America. It is a paper-toothed tiger in terms of moving the wealthiest country in the world with the largest and mightiest military. I'm not saying they're not right. I'm not saying they won't side with us. They have in the past. I'm just saying that they will not move America. It's not gonna happen.
Right, but our argument needs to be sustainability. The only way that you're able
to who you can't. Are you gonna go to? Let me just say this. Are you gonna go to the American government and say we don't have sustainability? Help us. Are you gonna go to the UN and say who are you gonna go to and say we don't have sustainability? Climate change is gonna hurt us. Who you telling that to?
We're telling that's the world. That's the world. That's our argument to the world. Like before we're able to do any laws for any immigrants, we need to make sure that America as a whole is full and complete. We need to look at the aspects that the people that have been here and those that have been disenfranchised. The whole argument moving forward will be sustainability, and we got to look at the fact that if we're going to make sustainability fair for everyone, how do we do that? And we need to look at America first, right? In my opinion, because this argument is about how America should move forward. How do we make America sustainable? We need to make sure that the original people that were here have everything necessary to make it fair enough for them to be sustainable. Not it shouldn't be determined on how much money you got, because right now that's what it's based off. If you don't have enough money, you can't invest in the SpaceX, which they're a company that drills inside the world and goes to different planets.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And there's real initiatives going on for shit like that because sustainability is a real effort right now.
All right. I appreciate your call, fam. Sustainability. Listen, the UN has enough money to have sway over smaller countries with less resources. The UN ain't gonna tell America nothing. And I don't know what you think you're going to do with SpaceX and drilling and I don't know in outer space. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. Next caller. I'm going to 860. 860. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Miss Yvette. Cornell, this is Alicia Jenkins from Hartford, Connecticut.
Hey. A lot of people.
Do you remember me? I've called in before.
Like June. You called in like in the summer or something.
Yes. In regards to the HR 40 hearing. So I just want to call to have a positive note. I was able to reach my goal in regards to my GoFundMe, in regards to going to the conference next week. So I just wanted to call to thank the ADOS family who's listening and watching right now. Thank you all for your support. I'm very excited to go and to start doing this work. So I just wanted to call in to express my gratefulness and my gratitude. And have a good night.
Thank you. You have a good night as well, fam. You have a good night as well. And we look forward to seeing you at the conference. At the conference. We look forward to it. This will be my last call of the night. This is very interesting. The phone lines are always full, so I never know where to go. Oh, it's dangerous. Okay, I'm going to 469. 469, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Miss Farnell, my name is Tora, calling from Dallas, Texas. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing in Dallas?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Amidst all the craziness that seems to keep on occurring here in this city, I got my eyes on the trial, but everything is just maintaining as usual.
Okay. What's on your mind?
But I did want to piggyback on what the caller before the last one said. You know, I just kind of feel like we got to get out of this mentality of trying to embarrass the world on our treatment, because I feel like we've been trying to do that since black and white TV days and photographs and, you know, getting holes down and everything. And the world has seen us plenty of times and still ain't done nothing. So I just feel like trying to shame folks into civil rights for us is not really a pertinent strategy for us in 2020 and going on into the future.
What do you think we should do?
Well, I think we should, you know, do for self. And on the topic as far as education, you know, I just think about the old school Harlem Renaissance mentality. You know, you had people that were like, hey, you go to school and learn this, while I'm going to go to school and learn that. And then we all come together and teach each other. You know, I feel like education now has become so tokenized, and, you know, it's like it's a competition. We've lost sight, and everybody's so specialized in their individual fields that you're so much of a specialized expert that you're not focusing on the broad picture. And, you know, we get higher and higher up into these titles and degrees and all this debt, but we're so narrow in the focus that we're unable to apply, you know, almost common sense, you know, like mentality thoughts to, you know, our economic situation. It's like, yeah, you can spend close to $300,000 to be a doctor, but you're so specialized, a job is going to look at you and be like, okay, this person is overqualified for any job. They probably going to talk back to me. They probably know too much to be a good docile employee, you know, but they keep selling you on this image that you can spend more and more money and get more and more specialized to command more and more of a salary. And it just seems like a backwards approach to, you know, being educated, which is to learn something, not to just, you know, learn just for the purpose of increasing your earning potential.
What you said? What? I'm so confused. So
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, we get so specialized in education, we lose sight. You know, we went from a mentality of, you know, community education, as opposed to now our education, we use it as a badge to distinguish ourselves from each other. You know, we get so specialized in the field and in certain, you know, information that we're learning that
most of us don't learn anything. No, most of us don't go to college. Most ADOS don't go to college. It's like less than 20%, really.
But we get sold on this idea that you can, you know, get into all this debt and all this stuff just to increase your earning potential, instead of, you know, everybody's just focusing on increasing their earning potential and not about, you know, learning. And you know, and from my experience, you know, once you get into the jobs, you know, having job experience is more important than. Because a lot of times, if you're so educated on paper, a lot of times the job is going to look at, there is no such thing as being overly qualified or overly educated, because somebody's going to look at you on paper, and the employer is going to be like, hey, this person is not, you know, this isn't somebody that's moldable. They got too much behind them. I can't really work with this person. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They end up, if you know somebody, you get the job, or, you know, you get in at the entry level and work your way up.
That's social capital. Yeah, we don't have nobody to get in, though. We don't have nobody already there to get in through. can't know nobody.
And that's what happened. Because the university system it used to be trade oriented. You know, like before college, you learned something by apprenticeship. You got a trade. You learned directly from somebody who was passed down. And then the university system was a way to expand that to the masses. But you know, we discounted the fact that you can go, you know, work under somebody and learn the trade before you.
I don't think that's the world for most people no more. Like, what trade can you go learn under an ADOS person right now? Is that ADOS person still doing that job, or is it being replaced by somebody else?
No, they've been replaced by somebody else, but you know that just goes back into the whole, you know, civil rights era. We chose to, you know, get into that modern, you know, the accolades of joining that instead of, you know, keeping some things to ourselves and passing some trades down. I mean, there's some folks that won't even pass down a mechanic business or certain business. Like, oh, I don't want my son or my child to have to struggle.
That's the only thing. Now, on that we agree. Let's stop right there. Let's stop what we agree at. On that, I can agree with you. Let's just stop right there, because I do agree that's the only place we can agree. We can agree with that. We can agree on that one point. Not most. We can agree on that one point. That, and thank you for calling in, Carla. I appreciate it. We can agree on the point that this, I have seen in my own experience, ADOS people say, I don't want my child to do a job that requires any kind of manual labor. So they don't care where you're working at if you wear a tie. If you wear a tie, they don't care whether you are cleaning out a car at Enterprise, and no shade or disrespect to anybody that does that. This is good. It's work that you have to do. We all have to do some kind of work. We could all be there. I'm not disrespecting anybody. But as long as you wear a tie, they don't care. Now, if you were to hop a pole, they got jobs right now where you hop a pole and you work a line or whatever, or whether it's like these electrical lines, whatever, that pay like 55, 60, pay like, and other jobs pay 30. No, I want my, he not gonna be that way. Not enough jobs in general, but I do think there is something in the psyche that's kind of made us like, we have this black respectability stuff, right? That's who we have to be and how we have to be. And we want to be seen a certain way, right? I do agree with that part. So I don't agree with any of the rest of it. I'm do for self in terms of like, what do we have? What are we doing? One last caller. So here we go. 310, what's going on?
Look, I didn't even plan on calling in. Just call and talk. What the hell was talking? What was that last call? I'm just saying, look, we had a good show. A lot of people called in with testimonials. It was heartwarming, and we just got a call at the end that I needed to call in on, and just I don't know what fantastical make-believe world Black America just gave a whole bunch of black men, particularly today. I'm talking about this. Between the guy that talked about the UN. Now understand that the UN went into Loudoun County, Alabama, this past I believe it was in 18.
Mm-hmm.
And they found conditions that were the worst in the first world. If you was going to bring charges, that's when you're going to bring charges. They didn't bring no charges. They just left. Because that's not where our case is. We're not in a developing country. It's almost like we don't have, and it's not just about not having developed people. They're not mature adults, like in terms of their understanding of complex government and economics. They're like too simplistic, like it's still 1905. Now, the last caller, I have no idea what he was talking about. Maybe you can clarify, because I come back to it, simple math. There's $107 trillion in household wealth. White America has 100 of it. We have 3. The bottom half of our race together is worth negative wealth. In what world can you put pieces together and actually build in an America that don't need no more building and no more business? Now, he might say, well, they always need business. Then tell me what you do. I would love to know what little business you work at. I would like for you to understand that 90% of black businesses have one employee, just a regular person, because it's not really a business, it's just a person trying to survive. They call itself a business. 95% of black female businesses, one employee, themselves. Because that points to
It's almost like we just don't understand blackness and refuse to accept it. And it's not about accepting it so that you're defeated. Because this guy didn't create reparations. Me and Yvette did, the discussion. This guy didn't create Adolf. Me and Yvette did, along with the audience at large. But what he sounds like is like he has a solution, but it's built in a fantastical Wakandization of Black America that denies and ignores slavery and Jim Crow, denies and ignores mass incarceration, and also basically brings white people down to a place we can reach, like a handlebar that's right above us. Let me put it in numbers, Yvette. Relatively speaking, I would think that we would need to have about at least the wealth level in accordance with our population percentage, possibly even more, to talk about what he's talking about. Meaning, we would need to not have 3 trillion, but to have around 14 trillion. I would really think more like 20 of the 100. That would require America to never have existed as America has. It's like he's asking us to not be descendants of slavery. I'm just saying what it is. Do you see it differently?
No.
Yeah, so I just call in and I'm just saying, I think, let me say, end on this. For those people that say the civil rights movement or Dr. King's message, for its flaws, didn't get us nothing, or whatever, I don't even know what the hell. Just next time you go outside, just look at the water fountain and realize it ain't 2 water fountains. Next time you go outside, realize that you can do almost anything because it's Next time you go outside and vote, realize that you can vote. I don't think we really understand where America was in 1960, where America was in 1920, and I don't think we understand how short a span that was. So we sit up and we say stuff, and it's a lot of times people saying stuff that ain't done nothing in their own life. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Tone. I appreciate it. Tone said, did you hear the same thing? I don't know what I heard. Hell. Anyway, fam, don't forget. Please do not forget no show. That's the end of the calls. I'm sorry, everybody. But please don't forget no show next week. For those of you who will be coming to the conference, of course, and for those of you, we still gonna have a book club. I just haven't decided on a date, but we're still gonna do the book club for the book. So don't think we're just gonna do it for the conference and we're not gonna do the book club. We're still gonna do the book club. So where do we go from here? The book club will be sometime after, though. It will be sometime after the conference. So we're still gonna do it. Where do we go from here? Chaos of Community, Martin Luther King Jr. We're still gonna do that. So look forward to that. Also, everybody, if you're in the chat right now or whatever, please hit that like button for me. If you want to donate, you can, as always, go to donatebrown.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter. The link will be it's in the description of the videos. You can go to patreon.com/ycarnell, however you want to do it. So all of that. The shirt's going out 2-day shipping, so you should have it Wednesday at the latest. Anyway, fam. Woo, it's a wild time. I appreciate all the testimonials by everybody who called in. I absolutely appreciate that. If you have not hit that subscribe button for me too, hit that like button. And if you have not hit that subscribe button for me too, please do that. Hit the bell to get notifications. I appreciate it. And fam, for a while, for those who want to go be in the conference, it'll be a while before we talk again. But keep notes. If something go down, hit me up in the DM so I can know, so I can have it when I come back. I appreciate it. For those of you who are going to be at the conference, I look forward to seeing you. It's gonna be a good time for everybody, and so we're gonna get it in. So I appreciate it, everybody, and much love, everybody. And finish your libation and get yourself to bed.